Welcome to the channel. Amanda Staveley, Newcastle co-owner, has said that she doesn't think it's particularly fair that Roman Abramovich has decided to sell Chelsea following the invasion of Ukraine by Russian forces. She said, "We're always going to have geopolitical issues. I'm really sad that someone's going to have to sell a football club and it taken away from them because of the relationship they may or may not have had." I don't think that it's particularly fair, to be honest, but we have to hold all our relationships to account. To be honest with you, I'm not going to defend Abramovich, a multi-billionaire that profited after the collapse of the Soviet Union, but I think she may have a point. Like, if you look at doing business in Russia or doing businesses in a lot of countries, how can you not work with Putin? If Putin is a dictator that people say he is, then therefore it's impossible to not work with him. So you could extend that to Mohammed bin Salman in Saudi Arabia. Surely anyone that does business in Saudi Arabia, which is probably loads of companies in the UK, are working with Mohammed bin Salman. Or if you go to Qatar, the Emir of Qatar, you have to work with him, because essentially, he's a huge player in the economy. Now, where does it end? Do Manchester City's owners have to sell up? They've been involved in the carpet bombing of Yemen and the killing of civilians in Yemen, the Saudi Arabians too. So should the Saudis and the Emiratis sell up? The Qataris, for example, publicly have said that that they potentially have funded Islamic extremism. If you recall, when negotiations were happening with the Taliban were living there. If you look at the Islamic Brotherhood, the Muslim Brotherhood, were living there. So, like, where does it stop? Where does it end? If you want to do business in Iran, do you think you can do business, not directly or indirectly with the government? If you're going to do business in China and you look at the issue with the Uyghur population, you can't not do business with the government of China. So are you involved in the destruction of the Uyghurs, allegedly? Are you involved in the aggression against Taiwan? Where does it end? When the UK and the US invaded Iraq in 2003, were they war crimes? Did any civilians die? Loads of civilians died. So it's a little bit rich, and I think Miss Staveley is obviously trying to protect her position a little bit because she's obviously very close to the Saudis. But I understand the point. Most countries have carried out some sort of horrendous acts, and the reaction against the Russians, as wrong as they are, and what Putin's done, let me be really clear, what Putin's done is completely and utterly disgraceful. She should not, and the tactics that the Russians use in warfare are horrendous. They use barrel bombs, they surround cities, they cut off the food and the water supplies to cities, and then they pound cities. And they did it in Syria, but when it was happening in Syria, do you think that only ISIS members died? No, it was lots and lots of brown people that were killed. So that, were they war crimes? Did Assad and the Russians carry out war crimes to clear Syria of Daesh or ISIS? So, where do you stop with this? And again, to be clear, what the Russians have done are disgraceful. I don't believe in militarism at all. Actually, I don't think it's right. But you have to also, look, Abramovich, he got rich after the Soviet Union collapsed, right? All money that comes from post-Soviet Russia is probably deeply corrupt. If not corrupt, there was obviously agreements between people to take the telecommunications and the oil and the gas and the property, and all those people made a lot of money, and that's why they're oligarchs. There's probably 2,000 of them, 1,000 of them, and the difference is, you can say, okay, Mark Zuckerberg or Jeff Bezos have created something, so you can see where their wealth comes from. So you say, okay, they're really rich, and they've created something that's added value to the market. So you can see the origin of their wealth, or Bill Gates or whatever. But a lot of the Russians, how did they get hold of these assets? Where did they get the money from? So it's a murky world, but it's a murky world everywhere. You know, how if the Saudis didn't have any oil, they wouldn't be able to buy Newcastle. So like, I understand Miss Staveley's point, and I actually do agree with her. There's a little bit of a Russia-phobic, quite a lot of Chinese phobia as well in the West, and a lot of phobia of people from the Middle East and saying, oh, they're all undemocratic. But yeah, like, who props up these governments? Do you think the regime in Saudi Arabia can exist without British and American support? No chance. They get overthrown. The Qataris, the Emiratis, they can't run those countries without British and American support and French support and NATO support indirectly. So yeah, it's a murky world, and at the end of the day, having said everything I've said, innocent people are dying there, and it's a tragedy. What happened in Syria is a tragedy. What's happening in Ukraine is a tragedy. What happened in Iraq, in Libya, it's just tragic. It's people's lives, and not only that, like, to rebuild those countries is going to be decades and decades and decades, and it's horrendous. But we also need to keep our balance about judging ourselves. We've been getting on our moral high horse. We flattened Iraq, by the way. We flattened Iraq, and we created the conditions for ISIS to come to power. Whether people accept that or not, that's true, you know. And we've done many, like, we flattened Yugoslavia. Why? Anyway, I'll leave it there. Please comment. Do you think I'm completely out of order? Please tell me. I'm happy to debate this with anyone in the comments who wants to debate this. But yeah, it is what it is. Anyway, have a nice day. Thank you.